Welcome to Street Smart Spirituality with your hosts, Barry and Cole, where each week we will be discussing diverse topics of spirituality, including the right use of will, A Course of Love, A Course in Miracles, The Way of Mastery, and much more. Join us on a global spiritual adventure with Cole in Australia and Barry in the U.S. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Episode 1 of Street Smart Spirituality. We published a small intro of both Cole and myself a couple of days ago, just to give you a little overview of our different views on the subject. And tonight, first of all, we'll welcome Cole. Cole, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Barry. Thanks for starting the first episode. I'm excited.
My pleasure. Looking forward to a long run on this. That's where the big bucks are. We discussed Episode 1. We're going to be talking about the art of true response, which we touched on basically, initially in the introduction. So why don't you go ahead and why don't you tell me what is the art of true response and how does it apply to individuals and couples alike?
Right. So the art of true response is actually a piece of a paragraph from a book called The Right Use of Will. And the paragraph comes at the end of the blue book, the first book of Right Use of Will, and it's called Steps to Healing and a Complete Recovery. And when I read that book a few times, I just read it as just another paragraph, and then one day I had this incredible sort of sense of shame arise, and I remembered that paragraph, and I started doing those steps with the paragraph, with shame, and within about 10 days, my sense of shame evolved into this most exquisite feeling, and I went, "How can shame feel so amazing?" Because I transformed it. I basically resurrected from what I thought it was into something brand new, and I go, "Wow. This is powerful." So this is really inspired by Right Use of Will. It's a piece of work that's quite unknown to many, and there are groups on this, and there are people who have done it, but it's not your mainstream spirituality, and it's all about going really into understanding feelings and how they truly can empower us, rather than, pull us down or take us into this dark night of a soul where we just feel completely lost. It's actually, when I'm in that dark night of a soul, I go like, wow, something's really happening now. This is good. Do you understand? So for me, this is the, where the rubber meets the road, this is the essential part of spirituality that I think in many cases is lacking. In a spiritual circle is the art of feeling, and art of even finding out what a true feeling is. So I've wrote this tiny little, maybe 2-page long article on it, and I defined and I elaborated on those steps from Right Use of Will. And that's all it is. So it's not even my own invention, but it's something that I really begin to practice, and it took me to places I would never expect that I could travel into.
So you introduced me to the Right Use of Will, a couple of years ago. What you mentioned was that it was going to trigger me, and that's That's what happened. I mean, I think probably the first 2 or 3 chapters, I just wrote you an email. I said, "Well, what the hell is this? I mean, it looks like a fornication fest," and I know it's allegorical, but I can see where it triggers. And then we went on to the second book, and like I said, told you last time, I had both of them up on YouTube. And you and I have been contacting the channel to try and get more access to them, but they're not overly responsive. And that's part of another episode we'll talk about as far as
and that's not really important even, because the work is in my understanding, I have met quite a few channels of all sorts of really great materials, and just because someone receives it, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's not the messenger, it's the message, and that's what I want to focus on. And what's the karma drama of someone who channels stuff? That's just their business, and it's not necessarily that helpful, I think. So yeah, I just like to get straight into it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so where to start? Like if you wanted to know one thing about it, what would you ask me? Where would you be coming from? If I say, hey Barry, how is your feeling body doing?
It like we mentioned before when we talked a couple of times, I mean, where you're coming from and where this book is coming from is such an abstraction. Like you said, people just don't understand their feelings or their feeling bodies. So most people, basically wouldn't know how to answer that question even.
Yes, and neither could I. And for me, the whole work with feelings started a long time ago when I was doing this NLP, and I realized that I was visual 10 out of 10, auditory 10 out of 10 being a musician, kinesthetic, which means feeling, I was only 2 out of 10. And this teacher said, well, if you want to be a balanced person, you need to enter more into this feeling realm. And I go, well, how do you do that? And he goes, well, first you just practice by slowing down. Slowing down. When you have that mind that goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, thoughts. Actually, that mad thinking that can be going through our heads, it's due to the fact that we don't feel deep enough. Yes? Right. So people trying to meditate and trying to get rid of these mad ideas that are going through their head, oftentimes in the night and stuff, or during the day, it's a constant rep. You know what it is? You can stop it by feeling more. The next thing is to learn how to express a feeling once you find it. So oftentimes there's talked about let's talk about feelings. Well, feelings don't really want to be talked about. The feelings want to express. And here comes the again, where the rubber meets the road is how do you express a feeling? And the answer is by allowing it to feel. So it's like my mind steps back, and that took a little training. And Course in Miracles was absolutely spectacular for this. And it really helped me to step back and let my feelings lead the way. Because that's what that book is really about. It's to train the mind so it knows how to become present for the feelings, right? So I learned how to step back, and then suddenly when I step back, as if I open up a prison door, and all these amazing feelings begin to arise. It's like natural flow of feeling is to actually move from the bottom up, from our bottom chakra, or even below our legs, really, below our feet. There's a flow that wants to rise up. In this society, we learn how to push it down. If you look at nature, trees are growing up and out, flowers up and out and open up. Human being, a feeling rises up and we push it down. I'm not going to say this because I might hurt someone's feelings. Yes, because the feelings are so distorted by the mind that we actually not really in touch with our feelings. We often say, well, how are you feeling? And someone says, well, I feel sad. That's just a thought. It's a description of what person thinks it's going on. but it's not necessarily the true feeling. So it often happens to me, like in my men's group, I ask, how you feeling? And they go, sad. I was like, within 2 seconds, there is an answer. It's like, that's not a feeling. That's just your mind rushed in. The ego rushes in, establish its impotence here, you know. It's like, yeah, I know what is going on. Then I go, well, let's try again. How are you really feeling? And then they drop deeper into the heart space, and you might even see a little couple of tears coming out, and you think, wow, they must be really experiencing something. Well, that's not it either. Because heart is just the next layer of our being. You know, we have spirit, which is up above, up to the chest. In the chest, around the chest area is the heart. But below that is this, what we call the will. Hence, right use of will, which is the part of us that only feels. There's no thoughts in there. Like feeling doesn't know its sadness. Feeling doesn't know its rage. Feeling doesn't know anything. It's just a feeling being itself. Same as Pacific Ocean doesn't know it's a Pacific Ocean. It's just a body of water. But we, with our minds, made a territory. And same with feelings. And so we also made positive feelings and negative feelings. The world doesn't know what feeling it is. It's just a feeling. It's only mind that thinks it knows what's going on. And so here is the danger where people say, well, go into your feelings and tell me what you see there. Well, you take your mind, load it up with libraries of past experiences, and you go somewhere inside this incredible realm of feeling, and you look around looking for something familiar, and you miss what's really in front of you, because you're not supposed to go into your feeling. You're supposed to step back and let the feelings inform you. Right? And how does the feeling express? By being felt. So I'm feeling something. I step back and I give this feeling more space. And I step back and I give it even more space. And now I'm already vibrating. And I step back and allow this feeling even more space. And now feeling is expanding. Natural expression of feeling is this sharing of itself. So the feelings expressed by being felt and not necessarily by being talked about. So this is where the mind comes and steals feelings and takes them into long stories. And my whole teaching is like such that even when I have clients, you know, I listen to maybe 1 minute of what they have to say about their karma drama. And it doesn't really even interest me what they're talking about, because I just want to know, how does that story make you feel? Because that's what's important. Because the feeling is that which magnetizes that story to us. You see? So this magnetic film, any feeling we reject will get projected and will draw magnetically, because feelings are magnetic and thoughts are electric. It will magnetize to us situations, right? And then we reject those situations instead of going, ooh, how does this make me feel? Thank you for the situation. The situation is out of the focus. And now I'm dealing with this feeling. And when I finally feel this feeling, I need to find out, what is my relationship to this feeling? And that needs repair. It's not the feelings themselves. So when you finally get to the real feeling, you need to look into deeply, like, how am I relating to this feeling? Is my relationship to it loving, accepting, and embracing, or is it punitive, rejecting, and avoiding one? And I can almost guarantee you that any kind of what we call negative feeling, you will not have a really good relationship to it. And until you can love all your feelings, watch this. I love this. You know, I began to love my feelings, and then took a long time before I got to any real place with that. And then one day, my feelings began to love me. that the one who's talking right now is like, the feelings just went like, you've been loving me so much, I'm coming back at you. And that creates a birth of heart. Only then the heart is truly born. So for the heart to be there, you need to have this electromagnetic field. So thought is electric, feeling is magnetic, but that field between the two is what love is, in a way. It's more of a quantum expression, but that's what that love is, when the two magnets are aligning in the heart. And so the whole body, when you see two magnets together, you will see this beautiful electromagnetic field, which feels very nice and even. But if there is a denial, there is like a disconnection. When the disconnection gets too big, the magnets turn and they begin to repulse each other. And this repulsion creates a gap. And then this gap is leaving you instead of your magnetism. So you might even be repulsive to yourself. Your feelings are repulsive. Then some other people are repulsive because it gets projected. So it's all about returning this alignment of the electromagnetic field in its right place, which means the spirit embracing the will, and the will is happy that it's been genuinely loved by its own spirit, which creates the heart, and that creates the elevated self of form, which is like a resurrected body, which is alive, and it's tingling, and it's tangible. You get close to that kind of vibration, and you go like, whoa, something's moving in here that's different to what I know. So that's kind of a outline. It's all about resurrection of our own feelings, and not by moving them, but by stepping back and allowing those feelings to express the way the feelings need to express. But for that, you need this safe container, because without safety, the feelings don't even want to know about you.
Is you got your insights from obviously the right use of will. As for my opinion, I think most of that material is over 75% of people's heads, not because it's intellectually complex. It's so unique, for a better word. Is there a way that they can utilize this information that you're talking about without having to read the eight volumes of Right Use of Will?
Well, for me personally, and I'm not telling anyone how they should be doing this, but for me, these steps to healing from the first Right Use of Will book were the absolute foundation. The rest of the books, they just help me to get triggered into feelings I would normally not allow myself to feel. But once I'm feeling this feeling, I go back to steps to healing, and I begin to communicate with this feeling, even verbally, to start off with. Hello, feeling. When you have a feeling of, let's say, give me a feeling.
Envy.
Envy. Feeling of actually envy is more like an action. You're just acting. There's actually only few real feelings. Frustration is not necessarily a feeling. It's just a sense of confusion of what are you really feeling. So is fear. Fear is not necessarily feeling. Fear is like a protector of feeling, because if you jump into that, what you're afraid of, it's warning you, what are you going to feel when you actually do that fearful stuff? So it's not even fear, it's what are you fearing? What are the feelings that you will have to experience so you actually having a fear to start off with? So fear in itself is not even a feeling. Yeah.
I think, like you said, the first book, and I see this time and time again when I post books or really in-depth treatises. I've given people, or people have read for example, A Course of Love. Course of Love is, I think, 500, 600, 700 pages long. I don't know how many lessons, but they read it. They read it like a novel. And as an example, Way of Mastery is 36 lessons. And people will go through that, and then they go, oh, yeah, I read all 3 books. They're cool. But the original intent of at least the Way of Mastery, and I'm sure it's the same way with the Course in Love, the Way of Mastery was supposed to be done over a period of 3 years. I mean, you get nothing on the first read of something. I heard this a long time ago. I don't know if it's still accurate or not, but that you've got to read a book 16 times before you've got the full import of the entire book. So you can't take these spiritual treatises and read them like a novel and expect to get anything out of them. I mean, you and me joke all the time about A Course of Love. They say it all the time that now that the course is done, most of your ego should be gone. But we both know people that after they're reading it, their ego exploded by 500%. So you don't read these books like novels. You wear them like a skin. You bring them into your life and you actually live them. Don't read them. So especially with a book like Right Use of Will, man, you got to read that sucker at least a dozen times before you even begin to understand and basically stop getting pissed off by it.
Yeah, that's true. All these books, like I've done Course in Miracles for now 30 years. I've done Right Use of Will for about 28 years. And Course of Love I only encountered 4 years ago. But it was an incredible catalyst for sort of merging the Course in Miracles and the Right Use of Will into my heart, into one expression. And the undoing takes a long time, because first we think we are going somewhere, and then we begin to feel things, and that's a whole different ball game, this whole feeling thing. And going to this genuine acceptance of feelings, it takes a while, because if I ask you, for example, can you genuinely accept your anger? What's your answer? Right, exactly. It's like, whoa, can I genuinely accept it? The answer is usually no. And actually, there are some teachings that basically says, well, anger is never justified. And, but do you have acceptance of your anger? And do you just trying to get rid of it so you can be holy? Or do you actually transform your rage or anger? So for me, I allowed so much of that feeling in me that's angry. I gave it the freedom to be what it is. So it began to express itself. And just one day, I mean, the wisdom that came from me expressing something to an end till it's nothing else to express. Because what it does, it empties that space in you that's been held back in the past. And you manage to release something that is like a reaction. And then the feeling basically evolves into something else. And so I still get beautifully angry, I can get really angry, but it's like it's an ecstatic, Like my rage is just, when I rage sometimes and my friends are around, they're cracking up laughing, because it's so free, and so I don't have any arrows going against it. I don't have judgments against any of my feelings. I have an unconditional acceptance of all my feelings. And if I have a new feeling arising that I don't have acceptance for, I have acceptance for that. And now we're basically looking at the actual steps to healing and how they actually work, how they actually are used to transform with feelings.
Let me read you something about feeling. This is from a metaphysical teacher in the early 1900s. He was closely aligned with Church of Science. Christian Science. and it's about feeling, and then you tell me how much of it you agree with. The feeling element is the female element. The mental action alone is really knowing or consciousness, and may be said to be the first step the mentality takes to experience anything. This knowing, unaccompanied by feeling, does not produce a visible effect. This knowing is the male element of mind, the perceptive element. When this perceptive element is used alone, it produces no visible effect or experience. It is on par with the mentality that mentally draws plans of a house or invention, but never gets beyond the plan drawing stage. Something more than a mere plan drawing is needed before an individual mentality will actually set to work to externalize the house or invention. This something more is feeling. If there is no feeling accompanying the house planning, the mentality will not exert itself actually to produce the house or invention. It is no different in cases of success or failure, health or sickness, happiness or sorrow. There's more to it, but that's pretty enlightening for 1905. William Walter, he wrote The Sickle and the Sharp Sickle. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's right on. See, we know a lot of information about it, but how do you actually do it?
Right.
You know, that's where I come in, where the steps to healing or the art of true response comes in. It's like, what do you actually do with that feeling to transform it to a point where it dislodges your mind from its fixed position?
I mean, would it be true to say that you just got done saying you get anger, and it's almost I imagine knowing you for this long, it's almost an ecstatic anger, but when you're done being angry, it's done with, and you move on. Everybody else has anger, and they attach themselves to it, and they carry that anger for weeks, if not months. Is that a fair assessment?
Fair assessment, and so I can get triggered, and there are sometimes situations where I can't actually unleash it. Like I'm a teacher at the Steiner School, so I'm not gonna go into my rage there, but I do it later. I use my triggers, and when I need to express something, I do it later. And the key is to step back from that feeling and give it space to do its thing. It's like people say, well, express rage by smashing something or something. And it's not the wrong thing to do, but it becomes a mechanism. And we want to get away from mechanism where you get so attuned to feeling that you step back and you let that feeling express how it needs to express, not how you think it should express. And so you become powered by feeling. You become guided by feeling. And then a feeling can take you wherever it needs to take you for it to release itself. When you release it, you get a new flow. You emptied something that was locked away, sometimes for lifetimes, and suddenly you're free. And you begin to vibrate differently, and you actually speed your body until it becomes light.
Right.
And it's nothing to do with something you can imagine, because it's pure experience of a perfect alignment of the four parts.
I think a lot of people get frustrated too because they try something like this, or they try some course online for a week or two, and they see no apparent evident results. But most people have to realize that they've been indoctrinated for, let's say somebody's 50 years old, they've been living under a system for 50 years, and you can't overturn that system in 2 weeks because it's so ingrained in the system. So, take something like your teaching and give it time. Like you said, some of your men groups are a year long, and you said they're just beyond phenomenal. Yes,
and so yeah, it does take training, and I've been doing this now for a very long time, and I still do it. Like I have a feeling arising, and I go, step one, hello. Hello, I want to be your friend. See, now there is a friendly attitude. I'm actually wanting to know this feeling. I want to be able to give this feeling to a space to express what it actually was trying to tell me, and I would never allow it because I would shut it down before it even arises. It's like, shoot it down before it rears its ugly head, you know? Because some of the feelings are so not good looking. They're so ugly by the state of denial they live in, you know, that they actually don't look very good. You know, they're in a bad shape. And so that's the resurrection where you go, hey, let me talk to you. Let's, step number one, let's talk. Hey, how are you? I want to be your friend. I like to get to know you. And the feeling goes like, is this for real? Does this guy even want to look down my way? You know, when people talk, they look up. It's everything up in the mental realms, but looking down where the feelings are, right? So you gotta create this intent, really deep intent to heal with your feeling body. And yeah, most of humanity doesn't even know that they have this, that there is actually an incredible gift. Actually, you know what this will is? That is the part of us that creates. You know? Co-creating with God is not making up some kind of workshops and, some meditation retreats. That's not co-creating with God. That's just like a denial of feelings, pretty much. What is the co-creating with God is when you have full love for your will, and the will begins to ignite the full present moment and begins to create feelings that you never even dreamed were possible. You start to feel yourself as completely reborn. I mean, that's really the second coming. You become ignited into this new place that has no past attached to it anymore. You become in a constant present state experience. You're in the now, but like I said in the previous show, it's not the now in time, it's the now in the feeling realm. So that's just the step one, say hello. The step two is accept its responses to you. My question is, can you? So you have this feeling arising, can you accept it? And the best thing is to say no, even to start off with, because if we could accept it genuinely, the feelings wouldn't be in the ugly state that they are in now. So, we need to see that we have this unconditional non-acceptance in the mind that doesn't want to know anything about feeling, because mind would actually disappear when the full body, full will awakens. The mind disappears and your true thinking awakens. Your inspiring thoughts kick in. And then comes the heart, which gives the love to that inspiration, and the feeling gives it manifestation, and the body will turn it into physical. So that's a step two. Can I accept this feeling and really work on the fact that finding out that you can't accept it genuinely, and that you also have a non-acceptance of this non-acceptance.
Let's go back to the first step before we get too deep into it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions. So, I mean, just at the basic level, let's say I'm going out get my mail, and the mailman runs over my mailbox, and I just blow up. Okay, so are you saying that when I get back into the house, I should sit down at the table and actually talk to my feelings about, hey, what was that all about? What are you trying to express? Is that basically what you're saying?
Do you know what? I'd say start with something simpler than rage when you already triggered.
Okay.
Start with some feelings that, you're at home and you begin to practice and you go, okay, so what's a feeling that I feel like I need to really make good friends with? And that feeling will arise. And you start with something gentle, like I started with my shame. I was doing this retreat, this workshop, and I felt like I was amongst people who were really advanced, and I was just all a beginner. And I had a lot of shame that I could not really follow what they were doing. So instead of trying to improve myself, I went like, wow, what if I improve my relationships to my shame? And I worked on it until my shame became really a beautiful feeling. And then I walked in and I had no longer had shame about myself. So I prepped myself. If you do this enough, at some point you want to talk to your rage first in a safe place in your home, and you work on it. When you actually experience something outside you triggers you, then you are prepared and you know what to do. But when you really triggered, that's already a little bit too late to do something very useful. So I would say, this is more like a preparatory steps to how to approach feelings. Later on, if you have full acceptance of your rage, you just explode beautifully and you express how it makes you feel, and you don't have to talk about it because the rage does it for you. If you learn how to step back and let it lead the way.
Does this process work for something like lack of self-worth or insecurity? I mean, something that's been so deeply embedded in culture. Is that?
Well, here we go. So feel that feeling of insecurity right now. Can you feel it?
Sure.
Cool. And what's your relationship to it?
I wish it lived in another block.
Exactly. So is your relationship loving and embracing, or you just would like to rather get rid of this thing?
Yeah, most people just, want it.
No, most people, you, Barry.
Me. Yeah. I wish it was not existent, non-existent.
Exactly. And that wish is what the wish is to deny the whole feeling body, basically.
Right.
Because every feeling, I use this metaphor like an ocean. Feeling is like an ocean. And it's just like one feeling because it's one ocean, right? It's one big water. But we have these waves. So you have a wave of sadness, wave of insecurity, wave of hatred. Those are just waves that come and go. They come to the end, come to the shore, and they'll fall, and it's over, right? You're not in one feeling forever, right? But let's say you're taking this wave of insecurity, and I say, hey, do you know what? Let's get off this wave and dive into the ocean. And in that ocean, there's only one feeling. There's only one water. There is no wave. There are currents and there are different textures and colors. But overall, you're in this one feeling. One. Yeah? So, that makes me silent. Because when I drop into this abyss of this deep, deep realm that's below me, which is deep as an ocean, there is an endless textures and possibilities and currents, and it's once you get off the wave, you go deep. But at the beginning, it's good to kind of address the waves and surface stuff. But remember, these are just surface stuff. Most of the feelings are just ideas in your mind. Your judgments and your descriptions of feelings. Feelings doesn't need to describe itself. Feeling just is, like God is, just is. It's one big thing. And when it's free to flow, it reverberates your being. If it's not free flow, it's just a little prison down there somewhere that looks like subconscious. But guess what? You know where subconscious is? It's right in front of you. Because whatever you deny, you will magnetize to yourself. And look around, look at your relationship to people, to your partners, to your government, to animals, to 5G, whatever it is. And there it is. So instead of attacking it outside, you use that. How does this make me feel? And what's my relationship to this feeling? And then you need to undo that relationship until it becomes loving and accepting rather than punitive and rejecting. Once you have a loving acceptance towards your feelings will transform like that story with a princess and a frog. What did she do? She kissed the frog, right? And he turned into a prince. That's the whole story right there. You start turning down, you bow down to your feelings, because that's your resurrection. That's your life down there. That's your turbo, When I started to moving this wheel, it was like suddenly I had like turbo up my ass, like turbo, the cars that have this extra engine,
Sure.
extra power. So that's what began to happen. Suddenly, what we call Kundalini, this little thing going up my spine, wasn't a tiny little going up my spine. It was this huge funnel of light energy coming from the bottom up, and I would not stop it. It would just flow through. So it would be like coming, like your body becomes this erect being that constantly flows through, and it's in a state of becoming or coming, which is very orgasmic. So hence that, second coming of Christ, I've got a different connotation to it. It's more about the coming than the Christ, because it's you becoming who you are in truth, because you have all of you with you. You're not fragmented, you're not caught in your head, you're not caught up in your spiritual concepts, or something just like, headache material. You're in a direct experience of wholeness. Because if you whole, everything else is whole. You see your brother as whole, or as
Context.
it gets really simple. How you see him, you see yourself, and how you see him, that's how you relate to your own feelings. And that's why, sometimes you can tell a woman, like, I love you, and she goes, well, I'm not feeling it. Well, she can't feel it because you don't love your feelings. And what is she? She's a representation of the feminine. And what is feminine? Feminine is pure feeling. So if you hate your feelings and you say, darling, I love you, she will trigger you in 10 minutes. Have to feel these feelings, and you will hate them, and she will feel hated by you. And here is the whole solution to the karma drama relationship problems. It's right there. It's like, what's your relationship to your feeling is your relationship to your woman. And what's her relationship to her thoughts is her relationship to you. So you as a man would reflect her masculine, and she's reflecting your attitude towards your feminine. And these steps basically help you to understand this feminine for good. Not just like another book about feminine and just go, what do I do with this? Because you actually do it experientially with yourself. And you're transforming the feelings, like you start to kiss them, the frogs turn into a beautiful light, right? And then you begin to resurrect. And then comes another aspect where you learn how to express your exquisite feelings, like what we call positive feelings. Like, how do you express joy for, like, let's say 10 hours? Imagine feeling of pure joy. Nothing comes to creep in. And you sit there and you're going, wow, I'm in a pure joy. And see if you can remain there and see how long. And then you will really see how far you are. It's like how much dark. The dark is not as difficult as it to actually truly express your magnitude, your greatness, really, which got no ego attached to it. It's like, I'm great. No, it's like, this is what you are. You're like you were created as God created you, and it created you perfect. And you can tell yourself, I'm one with God, I'm perfect creation, and you still hate your neighbor. Why? Because you still hate your feelings, and your feelings will draw to you magnetically that neighbor. And there is no way around it. And you can forgive the neighbor over and over and over. And this is where I think Course in Miracle community is really stuck. I'm forgiving my brother. Well, forget the brother. You got to forgive your feelings about the brother, because that's what really pisses you off. It's not the brother, it's how the brother makes you feel.
Yeah. I call that refrigerator metaphysics. I mean, people just take little cliches, post them on the refrigerator, and then, they call themselves a good Christian. They go to church on Sunday, and for 60 minutes they're following the pastor, but they come out and somebody's blocked their car, and they go, "Ah, damn son of a bitch." It can't be an overcoat. It's got to be a skin. I mean, you've got to wear it 24 hours a day.
You got to wear it, and it's like that. Like, the practice gets really simple. Like, I really love what it says after these steps. It says, this practice is going to be ongoing for quite some time if you really get into it. It gives you that option. Righteous will never force you into anything. And, for me, this became my Bible. I was like, oh. And he says, if you can't notice your own denials, let the world reflect it to you. So you go like, hey, what's my relationship to this? Not good. How am I feeling about it? The greatest art, though, is to find a true feeling. Because first you get this reaction, then you get a deeper sense, which is more emotional feeling. We make you possibly cry, and you think, whoa, I'm in my feeling. No, you're not. Feelings are very silent entities in my books. What is the sign of ocean?
What is what?
You dive, yeah. It's an om. It's like, whoa, right? There's not much sound. The feelings just are, and they communicate by being what they are.
You mentioned that you've done couple counseling too, and you said a couple of times within the first 30 minutes you've put couples back on track pretty damn quick. I mean,
because I don't deal with their problems. I put them in their right place. And I think we can do a whole podcast on this, because this is such a profound subject and so needed in this today's world. Like, show me a good relationship, like really, really, really profoundly deep relationship where people are just so in love more and more every day, more and more going deeper into their transparent, expression of the self. So when I have couples, I don't deal with their karma dramas either. I put woman into her feminine, and I put the man into his masculine, And you can see it, particularly these days, woman comes and sits up, she's like this lioness ready to kill, and she's like all straight up and masculine and going like, okay, let's begin this thing, And he's sitting there, and he's like collapsed and sitting there going like, okay, let's do it, darling. And it's like, there is deep polarity right there. She's in charge, and he's just, pussyfooting around. And she hates it because she wants him to be erect. She wants him to be like, hey, babe, come here. We're doing this. We're on a mission. I feel what you need, and let's follow that, So it's a different attitudinal kind of thing. So what I do with couples, I put them into polarity and go like, now look at each other. And they go like, oh my God, this is like when we met. Because they fall in love, because that's what polarity does. It throws you, it dumps you in the love. Dumps you, puts you into this electromagnetic field, which is love. And then you feel it, she feels it. She goes, oh my God, I'm so turned on. And he goes like, hey babe, let's go. And I have couples, and they, make out in my backyard because they're so connected. And we didn't really go through their dramas. We put them back into polarity. And this is such an unknown territory also. Because if you're not really aligned with your feelings, you got no idea what a real polarity is. You can't.
Do you charge them extra for that, letting them make out in your backyard?
So, yeah, they go, cool, you're a magician. I says, no, I just understand polarity, Sorry, bro.
No, you brought it up to step 2. Do you want to go further on that, or do you want to wait till next episode? We're running up on 60 minutes now.
Yeah, let's do a next episode. So we've done 2 steps. That's pretty advanced. Maybe people can try this and see what they say in the comments. And then we'll go to step 3. And this is so beautiful. It's like breaks my heart that this is in my hands, and where it can take a person who didn't even know that the feelings are most important. That feeling is the secret to it all.
Yeah, it's
like that lesson today. You send out a lesson. I feel the love of God within me now. Right? It doesn't say I think the love of God within me now. I feel it. Do you feel it? Honestly, do you feel right now? Do you feel the love of God within you now? And are you orgasmic? Are you enlightened? Are you full of light with this God man or God woman you are? And are you oozing it? Because if you don't ooze it, you lose it. So you got to give it. Once you have it, the kingdom of heaven is within you. But if you don't give it, you choke on it. You choke on it. You become unhappy. People are depressed because they're choking on their own light. So you got to give it. And there's a beautiful lesson in Course of Miracles 108. It says, giving and receiving is one in truth. Because if you don't share your feeling truly how you have it, it comes back on you. But the more you give it, more you have it. But more you have it, more you can give it. And more you can give it, the more you will have it. And guess what? This has no end. And you can take it to a place where you have so much ecstasy in you that it becomes the unbearable lightness of being. You can't bear it until you get used to it. So there is a little bit of purification that's needed to be done first, because before you can actually fully feel the miracle of love in a full manifestation. Though all expression of love are maximal, but it's only how much you can feel it. You will be able to experience it. Without feeling, there is just this freaking mind, spiritual mind, and feelings themselves, they don't like this spiritual mind unless it's fully connected to the feeling and fully ignites the heart and fully ignited in the body. Amen.
Beautiful. Let's wrap it up on that note. Next week, obviously, we're going to be continuing on the Art of True Response. How many steps was there again?
We did 2, and we have 8.
Cool.
Sometimes I call it 8 steps.
Excellent. And just a reminder that we've got that overview that Cole wrote for us. It's up in the playlist, so go check that out if you want more information on that. I mean, this is very important information. I mean, if most couples had this, it would probably reduce divorce rate pretty substantially. Everybody's living on emotions, everybody's living on feelings, and this is worth its weight in gold.
Most definitely.
So we will say thank you to Cole in Australia, and we hope you enjoyed this little insight into right use of will and the art of feeling, and hopefully you'll join us next week. Thank you, Cole, my brother from another mother.
Thank you, brother. I love you, bro.
All right, good night, everybody.
Yeah.